Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bare Bones Wargaming, a show with no bells, no whistles, no frills, just a man, a camera, and his game. On today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at Hitler's Reich, which just came out here from GMT Games, World War II in Europe. Game designed by Mark McLaughlin and Fred Schachter. Hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. Okay. Today, I'm going to show you one of the two solo methods that's used for this game. One of them is the quote-unquote fog of war method, which is the simpler of the two. The other one involves a bot, which if you're a wargamer, you know what that is, and there's a chart that goes with it and stuff. I do intend to make a video using this later, but need to do a little more work with it. Okay. Now, real quick note before I get started here on this particular video. Just a quick update, the flat top solo variant I've been working on, it continues to progress. I put it through its first paces with the Coral Sea scenario. A lot of things I liked, some things I didn't, some things I've learned from reading Lundstrom's book, particularly about searches and also about shadowing. I'm going to rework the ranges and the die roll and the levels and stuff based on that, and then give that another work through. But hopefully sometime in the not too distant future, I'll be able to share a video with you guys showing you my solo method, and we'll see if we can make Flat Top a game that will work for the Lonely Admiral that are out there in the world. So, Hitler's Reich. Now, I decided to go ahead and do this. I have played this some. I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on things, so that's why I'm going to go ahead and, so to speak, stick my neck out here and play through the game here, do like some sample turns with you and stuff. Before I do so, though, I do want to give a kudos, so to speak, a tip of the cap to this gentleman here, Mark Buto. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his right name last. Malacandra, as he's known on Board Game Geek. He put up a fantastic video showing like an overview. It's about a half-an-hour video showing an overview of how Hitler's Reich works. Because there has been a lot of consternation, myself included, that when I started looking through the rule book, wow is the only word I can think of. Yeah. So, his video is outstanding. So, if you're watching my video, I would say pause, go watch his to get a kind of an overview, and then come back and watch mine. Because, again, as usual, I'm going to just immerse you. I'm going to drop you into the deep end of the pool, so to speak. So, it might be a good idea to see his video so you got kind of a big picture idea before you watch my playthrough here. So, which brings me to a little overview here very quickly myself of Hitler's Reich. Good news and bad news. Let's start with the bad news, because then it can kind of accentuate the positives at the end. The bad news is this is a bad rule book. When I've been working through this rule book, flipping, trying to find stuff, it reminds me when I was writing research papers in college. You know, trying to flip through different books and find the quote I needed and stuff. Yeah, it's just... there's just stuff scattered everywhere. And I understand partly why, because the conflict resolution process, which we'll talk about here in this playthrough, is kind of like the engine of the game, so to speak, at least as far as resolving any kind of battles, whatever those battles happen to be. But again, I think they could use more examples on each type of action and stuff, rather than just in the playbook. That's just my personal opinion. So, the rulebook is, yeah. Woo! Now, to the plus side, though. Once you wrap your head around this, this is very clever, it's very quick, and it's very enjoyable. My wife likes to play Twilight Struggle, and I think I'm going to be able to get her to play this game, because to me, this is kind of along the same vein, but it's simpler, in my humble opinion. Now, simpler, of course, does not make something simplistic. Those are two different things. But this game is pretty easy once you wrap your head around it. Kind of like, to me anyway, it's kind of like learning Fire in the Sky. You know, Fire in the Sky is not the easiest system to learn, but once you wrap your head around it, it's a lot of fun. Same thing with Hitler's Reich. Once you get your head wrapped around how everything works, this is a fun game. So, I'm going to try and hopefully show you that with this playthrough video as we go through this here. Okay? Alrighty, so here we go. We're just going to jump into the deep end of the ocean. I will say that the player aid cards are pretty good. you know, sequence of play, what actions you can do, okay, bonus things on the back, marker effects, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, those are nice. They're very nicely done, and once you get the hang of things, they are very, very useful. Now, I'm not going to lie. I might make some mistakes on these rules because there's a few things that are still a little hazy to me, but I did want to throw this out there just to show people how the game plays and how it, quote-unquote, feels, so to speak. Okay, so in the game, you basically have different types of cards. One type of card you have are your event cards. Okay. Now there are different types of event cards here. There's all kinds of symbols here across the top. We'll talk about that as we go. There's text, tells you when you can use it and things like that. There are cards that are only Axis cards. There are cards that are Allied cards, and then there are cards that can be used for both sides. Okay. The event cards, you can have 6 of them in front of you at all times. Yes, I did say in front of you, face up. Your opponent can see them. The conflict cards, which are used to resolve any kind of conflict, land battles, sea battles, fighting over, trying to quote-unquote purchase, that's my word, events, all of that is done with your conflict cards. Now, right now, I can't show you one because they're all face down. So, we'll show you one of those here in a minute. Okay? And winning the game, you basically are trying to win the game, quite frankly, in one of 2 ways. You're either trying to drive your opponent's hand size down to 0, or you're trying to capture capitals. For the Axis, you got to get Moscow and London, and of course for the Allies, you want Berlin, naturally enough. That's the big prize. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get rolling here. The Axis get to start first. And again, I'll go over the solo Fog of War rules. There's not a whole lot that goes with that, to be honest. It's pretty straightforward. Just a few things that you need to keep in mind. And there are a few exceptions with some certain cards that can be played by either side. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start to get geared up for Barbarossa. This, of course, begins before Barbarossa happens and before even the Balkan campaign. Notice Yugoslavia and Greece both are British allied at this point. Which brings me to an important point. These spaces here on the map that have barrels are resource centers. You want to hold on to those. Those are very, very important to get a hold of because they will give you extra actions and or bonus actions, to use the terminology of the game, and they will also help you as far as capturing them knocks down your opponent's hand size. So as you can see, Yugoslavia is sitting here right on top of Austria. Now you may be thinking to yourself, whoa, Romania. No, actually, since the Nazi-Soviet pact is in effect, you can't attack any space that touches the Soviet Union right now. But nothing to stop you from going to Austria. So the first thing I'm going to do here is the Axis is I am going to launch a land attack onto Yugoslavia. Now there's a nice little white cylinder to mark wherever the battle is taking place. So let's go ahead and let's get rolling here. And we're going to start going through the conflict resolution procedure here, step by step. Alright, so first things first. You can play event cards to support your action. And again, I'm not pretending that anything I'm doing here is, my master strategist stuff, as I always say. I'm going to show you actions just to show you how the game plays and even show you how the solo method works. So again, you can decide, hey, is this kind of game for me? Okay, so you can play action or event cards. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this Stuka to support my operation here, okay, from the side of the Germans. Now for the Allies, let me see if there's anything here I want to use. I mean, because Yugoslavia is not absolutely critical, so I might want to save my cards, especially since I know Barbarossa is coming. So, you know what, I'm not going to worry too much about Yugoslavia. I'm not going to play a card as the Allies, okay? Alright, now, then you're going to play your conflict cards. Now, playing it solo, you basically play the top card from the deck. Okay. Now, there's a stipulation in the solo rules that since it's 1941 when the game begins and the Axis have such a huge advantage, that when I flip this card over, if I don't like it, I can go ahead and discard it and get a new card for the Axis hand if I wished. So, let's go ahead and let's flip them. Well, now hold on a second here. Let's see. As Blackadder would say, hang on. Okay, so they're both 4s. Okay. you can see the value there. You can see the symbols. White star, of course, is for the Western Allies. The symbols become important for suits, who wins ties. As you can see here specifically, this Italian card says they lose ties. Also important, the red star, because you must use a red star card as the Allies if you are defending or attacking from a Soviet-controlled space. See, I don't know if I should really waste a discard on this. But you know what? Since I want to secure that flank, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So we'll discard that. That's more like it. There's a nice big juicy 10. Okay. Now, once I've played my conflict cards, now I roll my dice. Standard procedure in the game is to roll 3 6-sided dice. And we're just going to add the total together. Okay? So I'll put those ones there. Let me get my Western Allied dice rolling. Okay. Alright. And basically what we're ultimately going to do is take the dice that you rolled and add them to the number that's on the card. High total wins. If there are ties, then you look at the cards and see. In this particular case, as you can see here with the German card, you would win ties as the Axis. Okay. But before we do that, we need to go through and do other steps here. So we rolled our dice. Now, resolve event and marker effects. Well, we don't have any markers here. Markers would be like a fortification or, let's see, where else do we have markers? Marker bonus. I just saw it on the card. Here we go, marker effects. So fortification, a fleet, that kind of thing. Okay, we don't have that here. All right. Now, I can also do event, which I did. I played a Stuka. So it can require the allies to re-roll one allied die. So I'm going to choose this 5. See if I can drop this down a little bit more. And again, I could have done the math already and figured out that it's a win, but again, I'm just going to show you how things work. Just to show you how the game operates. Okay, so there we go. So I forced that reroll. Alright. Resolve special properties. Well, there's no special properties on the cards. Quite frankly, the conflict cards, the biggest properties are the re-rolling of the dice, and then there's saboteur cards and double agent cards, which also have special properties to them too. And now we determine the winner. And again, all we're going to do here is add this 4 to the 5 for a total of 9. Add the 10 to the, what do we got here? 10, making 20. 20 to 9, high die roll, wins. So the Axis are successful in their land attack, and boom! Yugoslavia has been taken over. Okay? Now, once we do that, we do our cleanup. So we're going to put our dice away. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I always play with a bazillion dice because I never like to roll the same die twice. We're going to discard our cards. And then we're going to draw back up to our hand size. Now, right now, the Axis hand size is 9. It's normally 8, but the Axis got the war production card, which there's a phase that you do before the game actually begins. I did that off camera just to speed things up. Okay, so the Axis will draw, and since you're doing this randomly, what I recommend is when you draw up the hand, that's when you should shuffle the cards. Another thing you can think about to do if you really want to add some randomness is you could use a die. Like I could use a 10-sided die and roll it to determine which card is taken next time, rather than just taking the top one off what I just shuffled there. So keep that in mind. That's another thing you can do to kind of randomize the game. Alright, so now I've earned a bonus action. Okay, bonus actions are earned in the game by doing different things. If the first action, which that was my first action of the turn, then I can do any one of these things here, including take another attack action if I wish. Okay. Now, I can also do a blitzkrieg, which is a special kind of action. Okay, and I could blitz my way further south. All right, but I'm not going to do that. Okay. Now, the cards. Cards have symbols on them. This one has a win-loss symbol on it. Okay. Basically, what it means is this: I won. So I'm going to take this card and flip it face down in front of me. Now face down until the start of my next turn. Every single turn you start with a preparation phase. In the preparation phase, any face down card you have in your event area in front of you, you get to flip back face up and use again for that turn. But unless you're doing a blitzkrieg, which I'm not declaring here, I could use this again. You can see the little lightning bolt symbol there for that. But I'm not going to, because in order to do that, you have to reduce your hand size, and I don't want to do that right now. I want to keep my hand size huge for Operation Barbarossa, which will be coming before too long. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put that back. Now, if I had lost this, it would go back into the event deck. Okay, more about those in a little bit. Okay, now, with my bonus action here, I could do a couple of things. I'm highly contemplating attacking Greece, just completely securing my Balkan flank, and then getting ready for war from there. But I also could do some other things. But you know what? I think that's what I'll do. Okay, and I'm not going to have either side play any kind of event card. I'm just going to go ahead and flip them. Let's see what we get this time. 8, ooh, versus 11. That may not work out so well for the Axis. Let's see. Going to need a good Axis die roll. Whew, and I got one. Look at that. There's 14. Now, I kind of skipped over the other steps because I didn't play any cards and such. Okay, so let's see. So we've got 8 and... Wait, we got 9. 12 and 8 is 20. And we've got 11 and 9 is 20. That's a tie here. Okay, which then these guys would win the tie. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use a special ability here on the card, and I can re-roll a die. So if I roll anything more than a 1, the Allies are going to win. And I rolled a 5. Okay, so their total is higher. Now, if that had happened in Yugoslavia, that would have been the end of the turn. Okay, so high total wins. We clean up. Draw our hands back up. So I did not completely secure my flank. Unfortunately, Greece is still sitting there on my flank, and Greece is the word. Sorry. Okay, moving along. So, now it's the Allies' turn. Okay? Now, again, I'm not pretending that, this is a cohesive strategy that's, going to give you some insight or something. I'm just trying to show you how the game works. So let's talk about trying to obtain an event card, which I like to use the term purchase, because that's what you're basically trying to do. So let's see. What should I try to pick up here for the Allies? Well, I'll tell you what. Since I know Barbarossa's coming, I mean, you can only do so much with your split personality, you know what I mean? Let's go ahead and let's try to get General Tweakov here as my opening action here. Okay. Now again, I can play event cards if I want. And again, some cards say you can only use it in a land conflict, use it in a sea conflict. Some say you can use it for anything that you want. Okay. But I'm going to go ahead and you know what? I'm not going to play any cards from either side. I'm just going to go ahead and bring the conflict cards in. Okay, so there's an 8, there's a 3. Now, the question becomes, do I care if they get General Tweakov or not? And I might be mispronouncing his name. My apologies if I am. Now, of course, he's good for defending in a land combat, but you know what? I'm not afraid. I've got the most powerful army in the world from the German perspective. This is the German part of my brain talking. Let's just roll the dice. Yikes. That's a bad one. So what is that there? That's, let's see, 5, 6, 7, that's 10. So there's no way mathematically, even if the Allies roll 3 1s, that's 11. Okay, so again, sometimes in this game, you could speed things up by doing the math ahead of time if you want to. Okay, and since I didn't play any bonus cards and things, alright, I'm not going to worry about that. So let's go ahead and clean up. So, card into the discard pile, draw a new one, into the hand, for the Axis. For the Allies, same thing. Out and up. Now, when you win an event card, it depends on the symbol. Now this one here, because of the symbol it has, you would go ahead and put it in front of you and it counts towards your 6 card limit, but now they have it to play whenever they want as the Allies. Okay. Some cards have to be played right away, and again, the symbols are on there. In the rulebook, we'll use them as we need here. Okay. So, bonus action. Do we get a bonus action? Okay. First action was successful. You win an event action or an attack. You do get a bonus one here. Okay. So let's see. What should I do here? Alright, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go ahead and play the reorganize action just to show you how that works. Okay? And then show you the solo rules too with the reorganize action for this solo method that's being used here with the game, the Fog of War one for this here. Okay. So, reorganize action is basically a way to discard cards in your hands and get, new cards. If you think you got, when you're playing a two-player game face-to-face, if you're like, dude, I got so many 2s and 4s and stuff, this is a way to get those 2s and 4s out of your hand. You can only do it once a year, though. And then to show that, you flip your marker on the year track, like so. Okay? So let's take a look at this allied hand and see. Now, there is a cost that comes with this, okay? All right? So, either you can reduce your own hand size or you can increase your opponent's whenever you do this. Okay? There is a choice here. Let me just double check and make sure that I'm absolutely correct about that. But I feel very confident about that. Yeah, decrease by 1 to discard 2 or up to all your cards. Or increase your opponent's hand size to discard at least 1 and draw a bunch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and decrease the allied one by 1 here. We'll take them down to 5. Now I know this is a little risky, but I want to get ready for Barbarossa. So let's see here. So the 11, keep. Saboteur, keep. That's good because it reduces an opponent's card down to a value of 1. Get rid of the Staff Sergeant. We'll keep the Double Agent. Get rid of the Staff Sergeant. We'll get rid of the Lieutenant. Okay, so I got rid of 3 cards, but I only get to draw 2 up now because I reduced my hand. And that's that. Now, if I had taken this action as the first action for the allied turn, then the turn would be over. Some actions you cannot earn a bonus no matter what. It just doesn't happen. Okay, over to the Axis turn. So now I get to flip my Stukas. They are available to me again. And now I got to decide, do I want to attack Greece? Do I want to maybe do one of these other actions, okay, here before I invade the Soviet Union? And you know what? I am going to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try and get the Guderian card. The reason for that is, as you can see here what it says, I can do a blitzkrieg once per turn and I don't have to reduce my hand size to do it. So that could be very valuable in the Soviet invasion. Okay. Now, do I want to play any events to augment this, to support this operation here that I'm doing? You know what? I will play the Special Ops card to augment the German side. And for the Allied side, I don't think I have anything that I can use in an event. No, I don't. So, okay, nothing doing. Alright, so we choose our conflict cards, and we reveal them. Whew, that's a whopping 12. So ooh, that's an 11, though. Wow. Okay. Alright, that's okay. Not a problem. Let's start rolling dice here. So I get 3 dice. Not too bad. A little 5, a 4, and a 3 for the Axis. That's pretty decent. For the Allied side, ooh, okay, I rolled a 3, a 2, and a 1. Yikes. Okay, so now I can do event effects if I want. Now this event card lets me to re-roll 1 or more dice. But, oh, you know what? I really didn't need to use this. I didn't need to risk this because this re-roll here, that was stupid of me to do. Okay, but I'm not going to. So no dice are going to be re-rolled. So I'll put this back in front of me and I can save it for another day. Okay, so now we go to the properties of the card themselves. This card allows 1 re-roll, this allows 2. So, of course, the Allies will go ahead and naturally do that. And they rolled a 1 again. Okay. Oh, you know what? The attacker, I should have declared as the attacker first, I believe, in this particular, in the sequencing of things. So my apologies on that. But I'm not going to need it anyway because clearly you've got, what, 6 there, that's 17. And then I've got 13 and 12, 25. Okay, so it is successful. So I will clean up the dice, clean up the cards, get a new card for the German Wehrmacht as it prepares for Case Barbarossa, if you want to strictly go by the book there, which is kind of bad because I could have used that Lieutenant General with the red star. Remember, when the Soviets are attacked in a space or they are attacking into a space, you have to use a red card for them. Now I won this, so this will go face up in front of me, and it's ready to roll. Now I did get a bonus action too. So the question is, do I want to do anything with that bonus action? And part of the game here, and part of winning, is kind of stringing those bonus actions together. Let's see, I really don't want to fortify or reorganize yet. I could go for another event, but then I'm going to use up one of my conflict cards that I might need for Barbarossa. But then again, if I could get, say, General Manstein and use him, or, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's choose a card that's a little different here. I'm going to use this bonus action iron, and I'm going to try and get this Wolfpack one here. And I am going to use the Special Ops one because I may need it. We shall see. Now, of course, if you were playing a real two-player game, you would know ahead of time whether you needed it or not. So, let's play our conflict cards. And we'll flip them. 7 and a 9. You know, this Wolfpack is not absolutely essential, so I'm not going to use the Special Accessibility 1941. I'm not going to discard and pull another card from that here. Now again, that special ability is just for solo playing. So, that's a pretty decent roll. The ally. We got a decent roll too. Alright, so now we need to do some math here. So, 13 and 7 is 20. 19, that's 21. Oh, they're up by 1. So I'm going to go ahead and use this here, and I'm going to re-roll one or more dice. So I'm just going to re-roll the 1, because the 6 and a 5 is pretty high. I don't want to jeopardize those two. And I got a 5. Aha! Good deal. Okay, so that worked. Okay. If any die is re-rolled, return it to the event. So we will. Okay. So now, when we do the math here, okay, that gives me 16 and 7 is 23 against a 21, so I am victorious, okay, as the Axis. So again, discard, build my hand back up. Now, some cards, like this one, okay, which has the symbol, and again, you can find all this in the rule book, but unfortunately you kind of have to hunt for it, and that to me is the greatest issue here, okay? So some events are used right away. You don't go ahead and put them into your hand, and this kind of recyclable event, okay, are used. Hold on, let me make sure recyclable is used right away. Let's see. After use, some of the events make okay. But it doesn't say to use this instantly, so I'm going to add this to my hand. So I'll be able to use this at some point in the future. Okay, so we'll put that over there. All right. That was my bonus action. So now back over here to the Allied side. All right, now for the Allies, I could take a Fortify action. I could have fortified part of the Soviet Union, but that seems a little ahistorical. So maybe what I'll do is to kind of threaten some things here. Maybe I'll go ahead and try to get control of the English Channel. Now notice there's no markers on any spaces at the beginning of the game. So you have to take control if you want to do things. So if you're going to get across the channel, you're going to have to take control there first. So just for the fun of it, let's say that we're going to do that. So that would be a sea conflict. And I'm going to go ahead and play this fleet carriers for the Allies to try and get control of that space. For the Axis, I'm not going to play anything. I'm just going to sit back and see what happens here. Alright, so Staff Sergeant and a double agent is what I get. Okay. Alright, so Amphibious, let's see. Sea Conflict, we add 1 die. So the Allies will actually get to roll 4 dice and add it to the 10. So let's see what they got. 7 and 6 is 13, that's 23. Let's see. 18 is the most I could roll. 18 and 5 is 23, and they would lose ties. So there's really no point in doing that. So I'm not even going to roll the Defender dice. And as you go through this, you'll kind of get the hang of that yourself. So I'll go ahead and discard that and rebuild the Axis hand. Or restock, I shouldn't say rebuild. Restock the Axis hand. Do the same thing for the Allies. And of course, since I won that event struggle, I purchased that card, if you will. Again, that's my terminology. Then I put it face up. It goes back in front of me, but it does get flipped over because I did use it already once this turn. And now the Allies have taken control of the English Channel. So technically I could try and cross the channel if I wanted to, but I got to get those Higgins boats first. And I don't have that. Let's see here now. You know what? For my bonus action, because I did earn a bonus, it was a successful sea attack. And the sea attack, whoops, sorry, does count. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and do a Fortify action here. Okay? Now, Fortify is just what it says. You only have so many fortification markers, so you do have to be careful how you spend them. Okay? But basically, it will let you protect a space, is what it's going to amount to. So what I'm going to do is the Allies, to keep the Axis thinking, is I'm going to go ahead and fortify Greece. That's my plan here. Okay, is to go ahead and do that. All right. So once I solo rules here. Once I've done that, I must commit to it. Then I choose the lowest value card that I have, except ones like Saboteur is a special one. I wouldn't discard that one. The lowest value one I have is a 3, so I will discard that. Build my hand back up, and I have fortified Greece. So that'll give the Axis something to think about, okay, as they're going through all this. Alright, speaking of the Axis, now the question is, am I ready for Barbarossa? Oh, let's see. Well, I'll tell you what. The big push operation is just that. It is pretty big. It is pretty involved. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. And what I'll do is I'll make a second video sometime here in the next day or so, and I will show you how the operation works, because the Axis is ready for that operation. They're ready to push into the Soviet Union. Because again, when you do the setup for this particular, for the 1941, for the campaign scenario, the Axis gets the advantage of having their high cards, a lot of them in their hand to begin with, and I don't want to squander that. Time is ticking on that. So I do want to push into the Soviet Union here pretty soon. So, hopefully this gives you a gist for the game. Again, if I made some mistakes, you know, by all means, feel free to discuss and things, because that's part of my goal here always, is instruction and learning. That's just how I function. That's how I do things, okay, so to speak. So, I'll come back to you sometime in the near future with the Barbarossa campaign ready to be unleashed against the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. So, until that time, this has been Tim Korchnoi from Bare Bones Wargaming, saying thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in Russia.